Welcome to another powerful edition of Marquee Backstage All-Access. I'm your host, Julie Milam. As always, we're going to dive deep into the lives and music of our guests, and we'll share 5 full-length song performances, all of which were recorded at Thunder Sound Studios. Today's show is truly one of a kind. We are proud to honor the life and music of one of our good friends, Brad the Dad Shultz. To help us celebrate this talented musician, we are also joined by 3 of his 4 sons, Matthew, Jeremy, and Daniel Shultz. They each sat down with me and shared emotional family stories, as well as their deep love and admiration for their father. So to kick things off, here is Brad the Dad Shultz with Seabird. Now we'll introduce you to Brad the Dad Shultz. He's going to take us down memory lane and reminisce about his time with his grandfather and the influence he had on Brad's love of music. We'll also talk about Brad's early years playing guitar and his love of songwriting. Now, if there's one thing we learned from Brad the Dad, it's the undying love he has for his children. We'll take a closer look at his relationship with his boys and what he hopes they take away from his music. We'll follow that up with his song for Bradley, Matt, Jeremy, and Daniel, titled Sing Your Song. Brad the Dad, the king of the Shultz family. We are so excited to be here with you today. But your love of music really has led you throughout your life and has overflowed into your children. Take us back into your first memory of the exposure of music when it really touched you.
Oh my goodness. You just made me go back to a place.
Take us there.
My granddad played organ, and he played piano, but he worked his way. You know, he was born in 1907, and so he lived through the Depression, and when he was about 9 years old, he was an accomplished pianist. And so back then, all the little boys in their family were expected to go out, make whatever they could make, $1.50 a day, bring home to the family to put food on the table, you know, if it was as much as $1.50. But in any case, he got a job working for a movie theater where they played silent movies. And he sat in a pit, a piano pit, right in front of the screen, and he played piano. And, you know, it was an expression of all the sounds of the mood of whatever, if there was a love scene or if there was a chase scene, you know, cowboys and Indians or whatever. And he did that all the way through his grade school, high school, and through college. And I used to sit with him, and I'd be sitting on the side of his organ bench, and he would be playing. He had a big Hammond B3 and a huge Leslie cabinet, you know, and I used to like to watch that speaker spin, you know, when he played. But he, since he played for silent movies, he would just take off playing, and you never knew where he was going to go till he got there. And I remember one time I was sitting there, and of course it had the bass pedals, you know, and so his feet were constantly moving around, and I felt his leg, you know, getting against my leg and stuff. And then all of a sudden I got these like chills, goosebumps in the middle of him playing, and he was just tearing it up. And he got done playing, and he hit his last note, and he looks at me and he goes, "Did you feel that?" And I go, "Yeah, I felt that, Granddaddy." And he said, "Yeah, I felt it too." And right then I just knew that's what I was learning to play guitar. He was not a big person on guitar. He thought that was the simplest instrument anybody could ever learn to play. So anyway, that's where I first, you know, it got into me, that seed, and it never quit growing.
So when did you pick up your first guitar?
It was like then.
So you went in search of instruments.
I was like 5 years old the first time, you know, and I played guitar. I took guitar lessons when I was 6 for about 6 months. And then from there, I just, you know, since my granddad always played by ear, I always played by ear. But I learned a couple of, I remember I learned Johnny Cash, Walk the Line, I Walk the Line. And then I learned Folsom Prison Blues. Only I had to rock it out a little bit. But anyway, then after that, I just started writing songs. I would make up a song, is what I would say. And my mom would say, "Show your daddy, show your granddaddy that song you made up." And anyway, they seemed to think it was good, or
they encouraged you?
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those songs, those first songs you wrote?
Yeah, one of them I started writing, and it actually was a song that came from Buck Owens and the Buckaroos, and Hamilton, George Hamilton. They're gonna put me in the movies. So I got this one song, and it's really about my dad, because it starts out and it goes, "It's country is all get out." Anyway, it says, Daddy used to drive down a little country road. We'd be stomping up the dust, singing up a country song. And the goosebumps used to run all up and down my spine. I used to love to hear my daddy singing in his country whine. He sang, "Break my mind, it breaks my mind. Oh, the teardrops," this is my line, "my teardrops fall when I think about wasted time. And they ought to put it in a movie, but it don't matter if they made a big star out of me." That song, in the making, it took 35 or 40 years to finish. And it finished the day my dad died.
The words just came to you?
The last verse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, he passed away, and I went to sleep, and I dreamed this weird dream, and he was, I was in a hotel room, and I woke up, and there was like neon signs flashing with a reflection in the room, you know? And I remember in the dream thinking, what the heck, you know? So I went to the window of the hotel room, and this is like, you got to think, you know, the kind of hotel that you would have had back in the 70s, you know, where you're right there on the street. And I looked out the window, and my name was on the billboard. And there were people coming in, you know, and I thought, wow, you know. And when I got up on the stage, I felt this presence. And I looked over, and it was my dad singing with me.
And you will have
And
that.
that was that. So you asked me about writing songs.
That's
It's
it.
been a long time.
And that's what's so beautiful about it and so special, is that's a connection that you don't have with anyone else like that.
Well, that same song says, I spent most of my time like a rebel on the run, playing rock and roll music with my back turned toward the sun. Yeah, so I don't know where the rock and roll came in there. And I started learning stuff like, you know, I saw B.B. King and Chuck Berry, you know, and I went nuts the first time I saw Chuck Berry do his little scoot across the stage, you know. And I thought, God, I got to do that. Anyway, and so I started writing rock and roll songs.
So when did you start playing for larger audiences?
When they started showing up.
So you knew instantly from playing for your family that you wanted to continue to share that gift?
Yeah, the first time, we used to be a member of a saddle club.
Okay.
And the very first time I played for an audience, they were all sitting around. We went on a trail ride, and we're camping out. Everybody had the horses tied up, you know, in tents, and horse trailers everywhere, and had a big fire going, and roasting hot dogs, marshmallows, whatever. And somebody said, I wish we had somebody here to play guitar. And my dad said, Brad's got a guitar. Brad, go get that guitar. And so that song that I was saying that's where that kind of started then. Because I wanted to play, I didn't know anything but the D and G and C. And I started playing that D chord, and you know, and just took off with it. And the whole crowd ended up singing with me. There was about 25 people sitting around this fire. And next thing you know, I mean, they were saying, you need to really keep doing that, you know. And
Did
then
you
when I
look
was
at your dad's face when you were singing that song?
What's that?
Did you look at your dad's face when you were singing that song?
It was so long ago, but I remember looking at him and my mom and all the people there, and I was thinking, they really like this. I was only 7 at the most. And I just couldn't believe everybody was looking at me playing guitar.
And so that continued, and your crowds got larger.
Yeah, and then I had a friend of mine, Johnny Walker, and he got a snare drum, a tom, and a bass drum. And he started, and I said, oh, you need to bring that over, I got a guitar, and I took a guitar, a flat top acoustic guitar, and it was really a Gibson Classical. So it had nylon strings, but I put steel strings on it, and I stuck a pickup in the sound hole. And I plugged it into a tape player, and I pushed record and hit pause and turned on the monitor, and then it would play, I could play it like a guitar amp. And we would sit in that garage for hours. I was only 12 years old when I did that. And people would start, they'd hear us playing. And I guess we'd get in a groove every now and then. And people would, walking down the street, would stop and say, that sounds pretty good, And we played together till I was about, 17 or 18. And then as life goes, Johnny had a bad car wreck. And that was that. We were older by that time. But still occasionally got together and played music, But he was a great drummer. Great drummer. We had a band called Omega. A lot of musicians still going around Bowling Green that played in that band.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you had sons of your own, you were able to share your love of music with them.
Well, they were just subject to it. They didn't have any choice.
So when your first son came along.
They tell you when you bring a baby home, if it's real quiet, the baby will get used to being real quiet. And if there's any noise, it'll wake the baby up, All my babies, you couldn't wake them up with thunder.
There was always music being made.
Because, when I just always played music, and we found out that, I'd be back I had one of the bedrooms that I had turned into a sound room, and it had the soundboard all over the walls and everything. And we had, it was a little studio, practice studio. And I'd go in there playing music, and the kids would jump up and down outside the door, dancing to the music until because I'd have friends in there, and we'd be jamming, and they would jump so hard that the amplifiers that had the old spring reverbs would, and I'd say, you all can, I'm glad you're having fun, but you can't jump so hard. And they go, okay. And then after a little while, we'd be still playing, and they would fall asleep, My wife then would come in and she'd say, hey, the boys went to sleep. Can you turn it down a little bit? And I go, okay, and they'd go to bed, and we'd go right on playing music.
Keep jamming. So when Bradley was born, your firstborn, did you sing to him?
Oh, yeah, I did. And wrote a song, because he used to have fright dreams. And when he was only 2 months old, he'd wake up with these blood-curdling screams. And we thought maybe he had bad inner ear trouble or something, but I'd go in and I'd pick him up, and he would just be so tense. And, I'd start bouncing him, and I would start singing butterflies and painted ponies, butterflies and that would calm him down. And that's when I really made that song up, bouncing him. And he would just go right to sleep, you know. And then all through the years, I ended up writing that song. I have to show it to you later.
I would love that. So could anyone else soothe him with music? Could his mom sing to him and soothe him, or was it a dad gift?
Oh, no, I think she probably did, you know. But, I mean, I was always singing, so. I mean, that was just the, you know.
It's just how you expressed yourself.
I whistled, and I would sing. And, I mean, no matter what we were doing, I was either singing or whistling. You know, we'd be getting the boat together and I'd be whistling or singing or, I mean, it was just always what I did.
That's your language, making music. So did Bradley start singing with you when he got a little older?
Bradley, I bought him a little guitar and it had like a light switch on it. And, I mean, as soon as he could walk, and he walked at 8 months old, he just took off walking. And he would carry that little guitar around, and when you flipped the light switch, it would play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, you know, or, you know, something. I can't remember exactly what song it was, but anyway, and he would like that now. And it's funny because you watch him on stage when he plays, you know, with his band, and he's still got the same exact posture.
So you see that young Bradley when you see him on the stage.
Oh
today.
yeah, I mean it's no doubt.
So then Matthew comes along. Where does he fit in your music translation between your bond of you and Bradley? Now you've got a second son.
I mean, you know, it was like Matthew was born just 17 months after Bradley. And
so he's already playing the guitar now, you know, at 8 months. Bradley's got his guitar, so here's new baby Matthew. So
yeah,
playing to him?
Well, Matthew was just a, you know, infant. But as Bradley got bigger, you know, Matthew would play with that same little guitar. I got him a little guitar, and I think his was one of the more advanced ones, though. It was a toy guitar, and you push the buttons, and it sounded like Eddie Van Halen or something.
Quite a bit different.
Yeah. Anyway.
Did you ever walk in and hear the two of them playing guitar together or singing together?
Well.
Or did they really do that with
they
you?
would. Bradley was the first one to ever write his own song with a guitar. And I loved the song. And now he says, I don't want to sing. I don't want to sing. Let Matthew sing. But anyway, and then Jeremy always sang too, you know. I mean, we would go down the street in the car, especially at Christmas time. And I would say, okay, because, you know, little kids, they just sing blah, 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 blah. And I'd go, see if you can make the same sound as me. And I'd go, ah, ah. And they would try to do that. And so we were just always doing things. And at Christmas time, we'd drive down the road singing Christmas songs, you know. Our favorite, I think, was The First Noel. And everybody would try to get a harmony.
Do you still sing that together at Christmas?
Do we still do it? It's hard to get us all together like that until we get the whole family together, and there's like 30 of us, and nobody wants to hear us sing.
So when the boys first started showing an interest in playing for a larger audience, I know you played at home.
Well, eventually, you know, it was one of the biggest Christmases that I remember we had, and I bought every one of the boys' guitars. And Bradley, Matthew, and Jeremy, and Daniel got a little miniature size Les Paul. And he was only 3. And they said they thought it was funny. We all thought it was funny. but he couldn't believe he got a guitar too, you know, because I guess he thought his big brothers were, you know, getting guitars, and well, he'd probably get a toy, you know. He did get toys, but when he opened up and saw that he had a guitar, he just freaked out. And it was electric, you know, so it came with a little amp, you know. And
so he was officially one of the boys.
yes, so at 3 years old, I showed him how to play, you know, a little and he would go, okay, I can do it. And he'd sit there and, you know, and then I'd start playing a lead, you know, it was in the key of E, and that's all he knew was E the very first day. And so I just did an E scale lead guitar part, and he thought that was just nuts.
So what was it like to see your boys share your love of music and really make it their own?
Always good. You know, I mean, I just, you know, Jeremy started playing guitar, and of course, Bradley and Matthew were kind of getting out. You know, they were driver's license and going here and there, and they played football, and Jeremy, all the boys played football and all that. And Jeremy really seemed to show an interest before anybody else. I mean, other than Daniel playing that little E. And Jeremy got to where he would play at church and even became a music director at one of the churches he went to. But he doesn't want anything to do with the rock and roll scene, you know.
So when did you see that it was going to be a bigger part?
Well, Matthew, when he would turn 16 years old, God, we were so poor right then. It wasn't even funny. And it got to be Matthew's birthday, and of course we were recently separated, so the family was kind of broken up, and it was a downer time, you know. And Matthew's birthday came up, and I thought, what am I going to get him for his birthday? And I looked across the room, and I saw my guitar sitting there. And I thought, oh yeah, it's just a thing, you know. And so he came over, and I said, happy birthday, and I gave him my guitar. And he goes, oh no, I can't do this. And I said, it's your birthday present. You going to turn down your birthday present? He goes, this is your guitar. And I said, no, you take it. I'll get another one. But I decided I wanted you to have this one. And so within, oh my goodness, it was only 2 weeks. And he said, I mean, and he was pretty good. I mean, knew a couple chords, but I didn't think he knew enough to be in a band. And he came in and he says, Dad, we got a band. And I said, you do? He goes, yeah. And I thought, well, this is going to be a passing thing, you know. And I said, well, that's good, you know. He comes in about a month and a half later, and of course I knew that he'd quit his football team to play music. And comes back in a month and a half later, he goes, Dad, we're going to be in a battle of the bands. And I went, Matthew, I you know, I thought, I got to save him from, you know, the disappointment, you know. And he said, no, we're doing it. We already did it. And they paid an entry fee and everything. And I thought, I better go listen to this band. So I went and listened to them, and sure enough, it was sounding okay, you know. And they did that show, and they won it.
His first band ever.
Yeah. And it was all in a period of about 3 months. And the next thing you know, they're going downtown, and Baker Boys was calling and saying they wanted to play here, and we heard them. We think they're pretty good. Is this okay with you? We won't serve them any alcohol. And so
because he was 16.
Right.
Right.
Right. so they anyway, and so yeah, it just took off from there.
So for those watching our show, they know you're Brad the Dad. They know you have 4 boys. They don't know what your boys have done with music. Do you want to share what they're doing now without going into any detail? Do you just want to say?
Well, I mean, they're playing, they're touring and doing lots of shows. And Daniel just got his first little deal going, and Daniel's been touring, and I hope it goes good, you always do, but music is such a crapshoot, and I went down that road too, and I mean, it's, when you got a family and you're, raising kids and all that stuff, you kind of have to draw a line, Well, they're young enough getting started that, with me, the family happened and I had to put the music kind of on the back burner, even though I still did, during the time they were growing up, I was doing 4 shows a week and was on a file as a writer at Word Records in Nashville. But they got the bands started first and then started a family. Jeremy got his family going, and that's his main thing, and college and all that, He
Followed your lead. I think you're all incredibly talented. So do you relate to Bradley in that he is balancing career and family?
Oh, yeah, I can. Because I traveled a lot when they were growing up. And I know what it's like to come in at, when you're gone and then you get a chance to come in and you get there at 2 o'clock in the morning and all the kids are asleep. You got to go in and give them all a kiss, And Bradley has called me and said, gosh, this is so hard, and told me, when we shared, father-son time talking about those kinds of things.
And it's important for him to have you to go to, because he probably doesn't have many other people who can relate to that life and those challenges the way that you do.
Well, there's a lot of people doing it.
There are a lot of people doing it.
It's really the norm. When you think about the soldiers, men and women that are serving our country, and they have to leave kids home and go away and defend normally some other country, while their kids are at home alone, or not alone, but with, the other spouse. And, it takes a toll, but I mean, that stuff has been going on for thousands and thousands of years, parents having to go away and work and come home and be a long distance parent, or, you just make the best of the time that you got when you're with them,
Yeah, you make the time.
Trying to make up for lost time.
So Brad, now we have another generation of Shultz family. What is it like to be a grandfather?
Oh, that's indescribable.
What was it like to hold your first grandchild?
Actually, you keep asking these questions, and God bless you, but there's so much meaning in so many things, and the truth is, and I'll just say something that I don't talk about a lot. In 2011, I was diagnosed with level 4 spreading melanoma, and that's like a death sentence. And so, you wonder, your kids just got married and, they're starting to find their way, and some of them are just out of the house, and Daniel was still in the house. And, you just wonder, all these thoughts of what will you get to see? What will you miss? In the very beginning, it was a shock, trying to you go to church and you sit there and you look over and you see an empty pew and you think, one day that'll be my spot. I quit with all that, and I don't even, the kind of treatment they wanted to give me, I only had the prognosis of treatment is different than the prognosis of your condition, And the prognosis of treatment, I only had a 50-50 chance I'd live through it. So I turned that down. And we go along, and when something comes up, we take care of it. And that's as far as I'll go into that. However, grandkids. When I hold a new grandchild, I'm thinking, I got to see another one. And the first one, the second one, the third one, it never changes. It's like when you have a diagnosis like that, before the diagnosis, there's a lot of days it's just kind of run of the mill. And it's the same way now, except for when you think about, somebody says, well, what kind of day is it? What kind of day are you having? Well, I'm having a day, and that's better than not having a day, So, you just see the value in it, and you get to see the new birth of life, it's just tremendous. Grandkids, just, it's wonderful.
What is it like to watch your boys become fathers?
It's good. I know they don't have a clue what they're about to go through. And I know that their life has been totally disrupted forever.
In a beautiful way.
Oh, yeah. And they will never be the same. And I always tell them, now you know what I'm talking about, because people can talk about having kids, but until they have kids, they don't know.
They don't understand.
And it bugs me when you see somebody that's an expert on child rearing and they don't have any children. And I'm thinking...
So do you see music influencing your grandchildren yet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Music affects the world. Watch a movie that was made back in the 50s, and you'll see there's some music, Now I have to say, too, that it's almost gotten a little overbearing in some movies. There is constant flow of music, and sometimes their edit is in respect to the music over the dialogue and of the people
of the story
in their script.
Mm-hmm.
But music affects the world, and it is a growing energy that just it's like you got to breathe air. All the other bodily functions that we won't talk about. And there's music. And so
it truly is the language we all speak.
Yeah.
But in your family specifically, it is your love language.
Yeah. Well, I've heard people say, I had somebody told me one time they would get in trouble. I can't remember who told me this, but they said they would get in trouble when they were a kid, and they could never go to their parents and talk to them, but they could write them a letter, Well, with me, I never wrote my parents letters or anything, but I could sure write them a song.
That's exactly right.
And turn their stern look into a smile.
You knew how to get to them.
Yeah, so that's music is that. And that's how I write my songs anyway.
So what song would you want to leave for your children and your grandchildren?
Oh my God, all of them. I mean, my songs, if you put them together from start to finish, it would be a movie. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Any one particular song that stands
The
out?
one song that I would have to say goes, you know, through the family years and all that is the one Butterflies and Painted Ponies, which is like a lullaby. It's a folk song, you know.
Written out of the love for your boys.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story. So where do we go from here? What's next for Brad the Dad?
Take every day as it comes and see what it does, you know what I mean? It's other people's ideas that, you know, I play the music. I don't want to sound like Barry Manilow. I write the songs. But I'm playing music, and I do a show here and there and whatever. And, you know, I get people that call me and go, hey, you're letting the grass grow under your feet, and let's do da-da-da-da-da-da. And little ideas come up, and then I go do something because of it, you know. So, but those are things that are just happening naturally. You know, it's not like I'm out there, you know, when I was younger, I remember going to Nashville and banging on the doors. Now it's illegal to bang on doors in Nashville. Everything says no soliciting. It's funny it is so funny now, you know. But used to go in and take a demo tape, you know. Sure, come on in. We'll make it up. We'll leave it here, and they'll call you. And then they call, and they'd say, yeah, if you'd like to come down and spend a couple hours, you know. And they'd listen to your music, you know. And anyway, you get job offers that way. You want to work in our studio?
That's right. That's how they discovered talent.
Yeah, all these things. Anyway, so I went through all that, and the constant offer or constant presentation of offers that was made to me that always led to, are you know, me going away from my kids? And I would say, no, I can't do that, you know, which is why they put me on file as a writer, because, you know, that way they could get somebody else to do them.
But that was the perfect balance for you. You could put your family
Well,
first.
it was, but that, you know, it's still, I don't know. There was a girl, Karen Lafferty, who wrote the song, The Letter. And she wanted me to go on tour with her. And I was like, oh, that'd be so cool, you know, because I always loved that song. You know, it was signed Sincerely Jesus at the end of the song. And I thought, that is just great. And I said, where are you going to go to tour? And she said, India. Then I go, oh, no. And anyway, you know, so now, I mean, I'll just do what I'm doing and, you know, and just see what happens. You know, it's about the music. It's not about the money, or, you know, it's not about, you know, monetary things or anything like that. It's just, it gets in your blood and you're going to do it.
It's just a perfect
and then
expression of you.
It gets into the people around you, you know. And I'm going to go ahead and say something that, because I know you were talking earlier, and my sons, Brad and Matt, are in a band that has become well known. And then Daniel Shultz, my youngest son, the baby, has gotten in a band, and now he's got a record deal, and hopefully we'll see what kind of crapshoot that is. But it's always a crapshoot. But Bradley and Matthew, which is Brad and Matt Shultz, Cage the Elephant. And then Dan is Dan Luke in the Raid. His middle name is Dan Luke. And he doesn't want to be riding on the shirt tails of his big brothers, so he just said Dan Luke in the Raid, which is respectable, you know. So, but we try to keep it as much as in our own time. It's not about, you know, it's not about the, you know, I mean, the lights and, you know, rock and roll. I mean, we get together and we deliberately, like Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that, and all the holidays, we get together. We might show each other a song, but we don't talk about, you know, the bands.
What's your, you leave work out of it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
when you're family, It doesn't really matter what your occupation is.
What of a work focus, and you know, the energy should be on the love of a family and brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers,
join hands,
aunts, uncles, cousins.
So when the phone rings,
Lottie Dottie, everybody.
When the phone rings and it's one of your boys, and they say they're going to see you, what does that feel like on those regular days?
Oh, yeah, I could be going through any old day, and, you know, I'm just, you know, I've always been kind of a loner, you know, and I could be doing something, you know, down in the woods, you know, like I mow trails through the woods where I live, and I used to have horses, and, you know, I could be doing all kinds of stuff by myself, and then I get a phone call, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" And I go, "Oh," tell them what I'm doing, and they go, "Well, I was going to come out." And then all of a sudden, the day turns into a monumental moment, you know, and you know, that's how it is with your kids, you know what I mean? And the older you get, the more appreciative you are. And it's funny because then when you get grandkids, you're so much more perceptive of what that is, you know, and I think you appreciate it so much more, you know.
Well, every moment of life is so precious. And,
Yeah.
you know, when talking to you, you can see your faith is a huge priority in your life. Your family, your music, they all mean love to you.
Oh, yeah, it's all about love. God is love. Love is God.
You wrote a song about love.
Yep, all of them.
Is there any particular song about love you'd like to share?
Yeah, there is a song that, you know, I write my songs to my kids, you know, and I'm communicating to them, and I think of what better way, you know, I don't know, when you get to heaven, if you can still see your kids or whatever, but you wouldn't want to leave and, you know, things unfinished. And so when I write a lot of songs, I'm thinking of, oh yeah, if they go through that, they need something, you know. Well, what better way to really get in and give them a message about that than a song? And I've got this one song that Love is what it's called, and it talks about love, you know, and it talks about, you know, love in the relationship, you know, a married relationship. And, you know, that's not all a bed of roses. I mean, you're going to walk through the stickers and the thistles and the roses. Yeah, you're going to smell the roses, and you're going to sometimes feel like you're in a whole field full of nothing but daffodils. But there are, you know, there's struggles in life. And so in that song, it's telling them that when those times come, don't be surprised, but stick it out.
It always gets better.
So I think about stuff like that.
I love that you're always thinking about your kids first. Even when you can't physically be present next to them, you're always in their heart.
Well, besides God, there's not anything else. I mean, you know, there are relationships with friends and stuff like that too, you know. And of course, you know that a lot of your friends will still hear your songs, and it may benefit them too, you know, and other people as well. Who knows?
But not all parents are as present in their children's lives as you are.
Well, it may look like that, but I mean, I'm really probably there. You know, you talk about show business and stuff like that. That really makes it harder, you know, because everybody's traveling. You know, Jeremy, I get to talk to him. Thank God. He's like at least every other day, sometimes 2 or 3 days. But he's working on his degrees. And
raising a family.
Yeah, and he and his wife are very academically inclined, and you know, they're like the Big Bang Theory people.
Doing fantastic things.
Yeah, and so anyway, I probably don't get as much time as a family, you know, who their kids work closely. You know, my image of perfect family is the farm family, you know, with all the sons and the daughters working there on the farm. And, you know, when they grow up, they get married, you give them a little acre of land. Yeah. They build a house and they start having grandkids, and everybody gets up and goes to church on Sunday together, you know. That's the perfect picture, but you know, it's not what I have. But you know, so and.
But you have your words and you have your emotions that you've put together in song that these boys can carry with them every single day.
Yeah.
And the forethought that you have given to create that for them.
Well, it'll mean more in years to come, probably. And in fact, doing what we're doing right now, you know.
It's for them.
Everything that I do, you know, I'm thinking, you know, it's all preparations. You know, it's all preparations. And we should think, every human being should always live in preparation for tomorrow, you know, no matter what, you know, because today is not going to last. Today is a passing moment in time that will never come back. So, better be making preparations.
And you better be telling everybody how much they mean. And you do it every single day.
I hope so. You make me feel good telling me that, but I hope so. And you pray and hope so.
You're amazing. Thank you for sharing your life and your family with us.
Thank you for having me.
On all the scribbles, lyrics, I see played the guitar.
Thank you for joining us today as we pay special tribute to Brad the Dad Shultz. If you would like to watch Brad's televised episode, please visit our YouTube channel at Marquee Backstage. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and get notifications of new episodes, podcasts, and musical extras. Next, we're going to spend some time with Daniel Shultz, the youngest of Brad's 4 sons. Daniel shares his most memorable moments with his father, as well as a special trait he hopes to pass on to his own children someday. Then get ready for a touching duet between father and son as Brad and Daniel sing Love Is. Daniel, what was it like growing up in a house filled with music?
It was definitely a unique experience. Growing up, and I think for anybody growing up the way they grew up, just the way it is, but then you go out and you find out about other people's stories and you're like, wow, not everyone, But, well, it was cool. I mean, it was as part of our, of all of our lives as, sports is for some people or, whatever. It's just part of what we do.
When you were growing up and you'd spend time with your friends, what did you notice about your own family that was so unique?
Well, my dad had a studio in his bedroom, and so we'd always, be outside listening to whatever he was doing or whatever. And, but yeah, we were just, we were a pretty much normal family. We just played, music and everything, and we were a little crazy.
What kind of music did you grow up listening to?
I grew up listening to like classic rock, like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles, and all kinds of stuff, like Jimi Hendrix and all that. But then later on, I remember one Christmas, Matt took me out to his car, and I was like 13, and he put a CD in, and he was like, "You're gonna like this." And it was like a meta moment, thinking back, very. It was like a small moment, but integral. It was. He played like Pavement and Pixies and all kinds of stuff like that. Modest Mouse, and I was blown away. So right around when I went into high school, started getting into more like indie kind of stuff. But yeah.
Did your dad's music influence your own songwriting?
Oh yeah, for sure. He listened to a lot of same thing we listened to, old, kind of rock and roll stuff, and so we, grew up all around him. I actually notice sometimes I'll be writing or hear something in one of Matt and Brad's songs, and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of my dad. But yeah, he definitely influenced us big time.
Of all the memories you have with your dad, what are your favorites?
Me and him, we used to go horseback riding all the time. I loved it. And we would go down on the boat sometime. He had like this little boat from the 70s. It was really cool. But we'd go out there, and it was fun. There were times where it was like, is it going to make it? But it did. But no, I loved riding horses with him. That was a really good memory. We did that, almost every weekend.
What have you learned from your dad's musical style that has influenced the way you create music?
Melody-wise, I love my dad's sense of melody and chord structure, and I do it subconsciously. It's just, something you can't really. It's like, I'm sure you have some mannerisms of your mom or dad or whatever. You can't really help it. It's just something you do. You kind of you grow up around them, and they're your, sense of I guess direction. I don't know what the word is, but yeah.
Which one of your dad's songs means the most to you?
I love Pretty Picture. He has a bunch of old songs that I don't even know the titles to, but I wish he would put them out. He's got them on like little cassette tapes, and I love those songs back from the 80s and stuff. But yeah, Pretty Picture is probably one of, and there's another one. I can't remember the name of it, but I love the song "Love Is." Yeah, there's all kinds of songs but I would say if I had to pick a favorite, probably "Butterflies and Painted Ponies." I love that song. It was a lullaby. That song is just so nostalgic; it will bring me to tears.
What lyric stands out from one of those songs, and what does it mean to you personally?
Butterflies and painted ponies take a time to tell a story. It's how dreams come true. See, there'll be sunny days, days that seem to last forever, and there'll be cloudy days that leave a haze upon the moon. But if you ever need a special friend, you know my heart belongs to you. I love that. Our dad loves us, and he's crazy about us. I think it's just he's just expressing his love for his children, and it's really sweet and special to know I can always go to my dad. Yeah.
What qualities do you wish to share with your own kids someday that you've learned from your dad?
Man, that's a good question. Well, the importance of love and the importance of family and God, and just setting your priorities. And you're really just loving. You know, I want to pass on, the love, for sure.
Love is something you always give, and you really have. It's hard to pretend. And when someone gives their love to you, love will always stay as long as the love will bring you through. Here we are, we're all alone. Possibilities all around. Our getaway, our time alone, our special place. We found each other, and in those little things we do all around, through and through. It's in those special places where we find ourselves, shake off the fear that blind us. And love is something you always give, you really have. It's hard to pretend. And when someone gives their love to you, love will always stay as long as love will bring you through. Love is something you always give, and you really have. It's hard to pretend. And when someone gives their love to you, love will always stay as long as love will bring you through.
As always, we want to thank our friends at Thunder Sound Studios for letting us film our show from their fully equipped analog and digital recording studio complex in Franklin, Kentucky. For more information about Thundersound, please visit thundersound.com or follow them on social media at Thundersound Studio. Now we're going to spend some time with Jeremy Shultz as he shares special memories of growing up in a home filled with music. He talks about the most valuable thing his dad taught him, and he'll even sing a few lyrics of a cherished lullaby written by his father to his 4 boys. And then get ready for an emotional duet between father and son. This time, Brad the Dad shares the mic with his son Matt as they perform Pretty Picture. So Jeremy, growing up in a household full of boys, music was very important to you guys. Tell me what your first memories are of music in the house.
So when I was a kid, like, you wouldn't think about different toys being influential, but my dad always got us like different like xylophones and little guitars, and it usually wasn't like the kind of guitar that you pushed a button. It was something with real strings, and he wanted me to make sound with it, or just on his like flat top Takamine that my brother Matt now has. But that's probably the first memory of like the music in my family.
So was it a noisy household?
It was. So my whole family on the Schultz side is noisy. In fact, the first time that I brought my wife to a family function, it was the classic thing where we pulled up into my grandmother's driveway, stopped, she reached for the handle, and I was like, wait, my family is really loud. I had to prepare. So it was always really loud, but like, because it was music, it wasn't anything that was like hectic or chaotic. It was symphonic almost, you know what I mean? It was just a beautiful melody. Just, I mean, every family has their hard times and stuff, but that just gives you more inspiration to just play it out, you know?
So when one of you, and this is still as a child, when one of you would start making sounds on an instrument or a toy, did you have the instinct to just kind of start playing along?
So Matt and Brad played guitar, and Matt's first instrument that he ever got was, you know, we grew up really, really poor, and my dad and Matt dumpster dove and found a drum kit, and that was like perfectly good, and Matt would play drums on it, and Brad would be playing guitar, and I'd kind of just dance and sing along, you know, and it was just pretty cool. And then Matt really picked up guitar a lot as well.
So you were the first singer
Yeah,
of the
I guess.
Schultz boys.
No, well, Matt wrote a song when he was like 2 years old. I think it was 2. That's what I've been told, at least.
What's the age difference between you and Matt?
He's 5 years older.
Okay.
So, and it was called, I still remember this, I have like a crazy memory, but it was Clap a You Hands. And he would run around saying, clap a you hands, and that was the first song of the Schultz boys.
I love it. So do you perform that together when asked?
I don't think so. I bet
asking.
Matt, once he hears this, is going to be really reminiscent and really throw him. That's good.
So in that same vein, I know that your dad would write lullabies for you.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those?
Yeah. There's a song, like every time I hear it, I still get goosebumps and teary-eyed sometimes. And there's a song called Butterflies and Painted Ponies. And it like, if you listen to the lyrics, it's a beautiful song about how dreams come true, you know? Like, it starts out by listening to a story, and then like you make your own story, and it goes something like this. If you'd like me to sing a little bit of it.
I'd love to.
Butterflies and painted ponies, butterflies and painted ponies, take the time to hear the stories. That's how dreams come true. And there'll be cloudy days, days that seem to last forever. And there'll be sunny days that leave a haze around the moon. And if you ever need a special friend, you know my heart belongs to you. And then it just goes on, like, from there. It goes on to say, take the time to tell the story. So it's not about just letting it affect you, but you affect
Share it.
others and share it.
And that's one of the great qualities of
Yeah.
your dad, is that he does share
Yeah,
his story and is
absolutely.
proud to share the story of you and
Yeah.
your brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you think back to your dad and your favorite memories of him that are just Jeremy and Brad,
Yeah.
what do those look like?
The first, like, I don't know why, but I used to have Superman pajamas, and I would sit on his lap in his special chair and fall asleep every night. But one of my, like, first memories of just us two was my dad drove a semi-truck for like 10 years or something like that. And I loved to go on overnight trips with him. And he made me my first coffee drink. I was 5 years old. And it was a big 20-ounce cup, and he probably put like 5-6 ounces of coffee, and the rest was milk and sugar. But we went to Cincinnati, and when we got there, he dropped his trailer off, and he was like, "Hey, let's go to a music store." And we went in to this music store in this strip mall. It was the first time I'd ever seen a baby grand piano. It was just like awe-inspiring. It was beautiful, and I was, I don't know, just shook to the core that something so big could make such a beautiful sound, you know?
So he taught you to dream
Absolutely.
big, and to believe that those dreams can be reality.
Yeah.
So how do you use those lessons from your dad in your life today?
Another thing to add to that is my dad is a joyous person. And joy, what I think my dad has helped me to understand, is not something that is set on something that is transient or temporary, but something that is eternal. And anyways, so I think that's probably been the biggest impact on like all those things, like being a dreamer and stuff, is the joy that he gave us. And I feel like it's something that I do with my baby. And I work as a barista in Owensboro, and people come and they'll walk in, and if I'm not there, they walk out sometimes. There's only a few that do that, but they I just try and be a joyous person for everybody, and give an experience to everyone, with no matter what I do.
And you learned that from your father?
Yeah, I would say that, and my mom, of course.
Yes, of course.
But yeah, my dad's just such a joyous person. He'll walk through Walmart, and like, it's funny. My dad is a type A personality, so he's on a mission when he's there. But if he sees somebody that he recognizes, he's like, "Hey, do I know you?" And it's absolutely not somebody that he knows. He just may have thought that they look like somebody he knew. And he never meets a stranger. I mean, he's going to have a conversation 30-40 minutes with anybody that he meets. And I would like to say that I have become the same way.
I think you definitely do have a gift. I think all of you have a gift of just connecting with people, but you also have a gift of making people feel special,
Yeah.
and seeing things about themselves that maybe they don't even see.
I hope so. I hope so.
So if there's one thing that you want to pass along to your son, like your dad passed along
Yeah.
to you, what would it be?
I think the one thing that my dad wanted me is to have is his faith, and which is what gives him joy and makes him a dreamer, and that's exactly what I want. It's something that I literally pray for every day, is that my son would be able to see the love that Jesus gave to anyone who would believe, that it's no longer on our merit or works, but what he did on the cross. And that's just a beautiful gift. And that's the one thing that I would absolutely want to share with my son.
So we all have a purpose of being on this earth. We were all created for a bigger purpose. What do you feel that your dad's purpose was here on this earth?
I mean, what he would say is to have 4 sons and to love them and to share his life with and to give them joy and music and to be able to think big. And but I think that, I mean, my dad's just a loving guy and he wants to share his love.
He absolutely
He
does.
always says love, 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 you know, on everything.
He has a song about it.
Yeah. Love, love, love with all your heart, all your soul and mind. It's just a great song, which it goes back to different Psalms and what Jesus taught himself was about love. He actually said that that he was asked, Jesus that is, what to do to reach, you know, to fulfill all the commandments. And he said, or what's the greatest commandment? That's what he said. And he said, love the Lord your God above all things, and then love your neighbor as you love yourself. And my dad and I were actually having a conversation about this about 2 or 3 years ago, probably about when he was writing that song. And he was like, do you ever think about what that means and how important that is? And he said, if you really love God, then you're not going to want to do anything against him. But if you love your neighbor, you're not going to try and steal their wife. Or if you truly love somebody, you're not going to lie to them. You're going to tell them the truth, even if the truth hurts. That's what love does, is tries to be honest.
It's transparent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what memories would you like to see Owen make with your father?
I'd love, and he already does, like, my dad will be playing guitar and Owen is a dancer, absolutely. Like, he is not even a year old, but by the time he was 4 months old, he couldn't stand up, but he'd be swaying back and forth, and I absolutely want that to be a big part of his life. My dad has gotten me records, and I try and play the records that my dad has gotten me. And then my wife and I are starting this new tradition where we're going to keep the TV off at least one day a week, and we're going to go and buy one record a week and play that record. We're going to let the different kids, if we have more, and we're all going to get to pick one record to listen to.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it really speaks to how important music has always been in your family and now in your personal household.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. So music is a part of your soul.
Absolutely.
In so many ways.
Absolutely. Speaking of faith, like, my dad would say that it's all to God's glory, and that's, I think music is such a gift from God that even that we get to participate and honor God in that is beautiful. But it actually says that when Jesus returns, that he will sing a love song to his people. And I just imagine how the Bible says that when God speaks, things become, you know, he speaks things into existence, and the universe is upheld by the power of his word. What is this music going to be? What is this song going to do when he sings to his bride?
Do you imagine that sometimes?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes I facetiously think about different things, and I think God has a sense of humor, but I wonder, like, if Jesus comes and he starts to sing, he's like,
And he can't sing.
yeah, how funny would that be? But it also, like, I don't think that, like, it's going to be just undescribable.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, what kind of style he's going to sing. Is it going to be operatic or just singing? And I don't know. And I
think
love,
it'll sound like Otis Redding.
yeah, maybe, maybe it'll be These Arms of Mine, you know? Like he'll sing, these arms of mine, they are lonely, lonely from wanting you. And that's what I think is beautiful about songs like that, is you can find truth in that, you know? Jesus is reaching out to his lover and wants to embrace those whom he loves, you know, and who love him. And I think that's just breathtaking.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And just as your love of music and your love of your family and your love of your father, you guys are all incredibly beautiful souls. I'm so glad to have you here.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a pretty picture in my mind. You know I pray about us every day. When the sun shines down on the patio, your feet up in my lap, we're telling all our stories. Do you remember when? Such a pretty picture in my mind. Such a pretty picture in my mind. The winter snow will cover all the ground. The weeds look brown and brittle through the white. A lonely bird is chirping in his lonely leafless tree. It echoes through the heaven and echoes throughout time. Bring that pretty picture back to life. God, bring that pretty picture back to life. Let the sun shine down on the patio with your feet up in my lap. Telling all our stories. Do you remember when? Such a pretty picture in my mind. Such a pretty picture in my mind. God, breathe our pretty picture back to life.
We would like to thank Brad the Dad Shultz and the entire Shultz family for sharing their story and music with us today. We hope you've enjoyed our show, and if you'd like to learn more about Marquee Backstage and upcoming guests, please follow us on social media at Marquee Backstage. Now for the grand finale, we'll leave you with Here and Now, performed by Brad the Dad Shultz and two of his sons, Matt and Daniel.
Here and now is where we are. You never know just what tomorrow
There is no way to describe the magic created by Brad the Dad and his musical family. We appreciate them sharing their love for one another and for music with us. Next time on Marquee Backstage All-Access, we're going to sit down with the sister rock duo, Girl Tones. You'll be blown away by the massive guitar and vocal performance by Kenzie and her sister Layla's punk rock power on drums. Until then, I am your host, Julie Milam, and I will meet you here next week for another exciting edition of Marquee Backstage All Access.